This is Mark Whitten.
This is Adam MacArthur.
This is Ann Yatko.
This is Molly Chung.
Hey everybody, this is Michael Yurchak.
This is Daquan Wilshire.
This is Lexi Nieto.
This is Rico Fajardo, and you're watching.
And you're listening to Spoiler Force Podcast. Set your heart ablaze.
All right, so this is episode 160 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky, and thank you for tuning in. This week's episode, usually, I haven't been doing so much reviews lately, but I had to do this one because this anime has been on like the top of my list for a while. Not just reviews, but just like because I enjoy watching it so much. It's actually one of the gateway animes that showed me that there's more than just shonen or mature themed anime. Like this is really just a fun, comedic, very wholesome anime. So before we get into that, though, let me just introduce my guests. Returning guests Salem and my cousin Michael, art by Kouki. Thank you guys just so much for being on the show and to talk about Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. So so this topic was something that I've been putting off for a while because I guess I've been so focused on like getting other guests and stuff like that, but this was perfect because for some of you that don't know, this is actually like the 4-year anniversary of Spoiler Force Podcast when this episode drops, and this is I guess this was a good topic to talk about, like just for fun, because this is really why like I started Spoiler Force. It was just to geek out and talk about things that I liked or enjoyed, and again, this anime was something that I loved a lot, and I guess we can just jump right into like how we discovered this anime, because I think for me, I was watching Konosuba at the time, and that was another comedic anime that like opened the doorways for me. So like I was watching Konosuba on Crunchyroll, and then I guess on the Facebook algorithm, or like the videos that they recommend you, like they were showing a lot of like Toru and Kana clips, and I've seen like memes of like Miss Kobayashi, but I didn't know what the anime was, because I think one thing that stood out was there was this one Facebook video where in Attack on Titan, when the Titans first break into the wall, and instead of the Titans eating the people, there was memes of Kana being the Titan eating people. So that's how I discovered this anime. So I watched a few clips, and then like it was the second episode where they showed the playtime between Kana and Toru. And that animation was so freaking amazing for something that is just supposed to be fun. Like, I was like, man, like this animation studio is really flexing. Like how if they wanted to do like a shonen or a fighting anime, they could really do it. And so because of that clip, I had to go and watch this. And here I am now geeking out about Miss Kobayashi. But Salem, we'll start with you. How did you discover Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid?
So this is super outside of what I normally watch. I actually don't watch a whole lot of slice of life in general, but I ended up finding this because, believe it or not, I follow a ton of cosplayers, and I kept seeing people cosplay from Kobayashi, and I was like, wow, I really love how people are kind of, there was the bunny suit cosplays of Lukoa, like there was just Toru, the swimsuits, like there were so many different versions of these characters, and I was so curious. And I fell in love with Lukoa's design, and I was like, I have to go watch this, because it's a little bit of a rule for myself that I tend to not cosplay things that I have not watched. And I was like, I really, really want to do Lukoa. So I ended up going through and watching it, and I was pleasantly surprised by a little bit of the themes. Because in my head, I was like, this is fan service anime, which is fine. It's great. But it actually did tackle more than I thought.
Perfect. Cosplayers like love Toru, and I honestly I think they love Lukoa more just because of the simplicity of the cosplay.
Yeah.
And like there's always at least a few or a handful of Kobayashi cosplayers at every con. Like they're not always, there's not a lot of them, but when you see them, they stand out.
They stand out. They stand
Yeah.
out. It's like you can't miss it. Just the blue apron and the red ribbon. It stands out.
And Michael, how did you discover Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid?
You. So I know I've said this many times on the podcast, so just I stopped watching anime for the longest time, and then you got me back into it because you wanted to do the Demon Slayer, Promised Neverland, and Rent a Girlfriend reviews.
Okay.
So that kind of like, it kind of reignited the sparks of it. So at that point, I was just like looking for anime to watch, and then you recommended that one. I was like, okay. I looked it up. Actually, no, I did. I'm guilty. I didn't look it up. And then I think either you sent me a clip or I just stumbled on a clip, on YouTube where she stops the mugger in the market. And then I saw that. I'm like, okay, yo, this looks pretty sick. It's like, I thought it was gonna be more of like cute action oriented, and I was like, okay, actually looks like it'll be like a pretty good, action. And then as I started watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, no, the action scenes were amazing. The fight scenes, the animation, top tier. But no, that's how I kind of got roped into it, and also the Seiyu music videos. You did send me those, and I was kind of going through just call it like a weeb music phase that's being reignited in me. So yeah, that's how I stumbled across Dragon Maid.
Yeah, it's this anime, man. Like I think it was like during COVID when I really got hooked onto it because, like I mean, and usually people say like whether it's cartoons or anime or like games like that get you through like tough times or something like that. Like I didn't, it's not that I made fun of it, but I used to not like think of it so seriously. Like, oh man, I got through like a tough moment with anime. But honestly, like Kobayashi's Dragon Maid was actually a series that got me through tough times. Like even during COVID and then like the passing of like a family member, not all that stuff. Like it actually like got my mind off of real life things at times. And I think that's why like I truly appreciate the art and the craft of Kobayashi's Dragon Maid because it's not just comedic and funny, but like it's wholesome. There's a lot of familial themes to the show, and especially like when I guess like for like the Kana scenes is what like I'm getting at. Like man, just seeing how they it's essentially just a couple raising a kid, and I guess just like these little minor details that they do. Like I guess for me, like one of my favorite moments was like when Kana goes school shopping, and like just seeing that like put me through like this nostalgic feeling of like, when my parents took me school shopping and we bought like school boxes and uh backpacks and stuff like that. Like just these little things, and I guess like it really like hit a soft spot in me just watching this. I'm like, man, like I didn't think an anime like this would be, pulling my heartstrings like that and just getting me so into this show because it's just so like I said, it's just so wholesome. But there's so many characters in here that are like very standoutish. I think all the dragons definitely stand out, but they got like Toru, Kana, Luko, Elma, like those four are the ones that like really stand out, especially with their seiyus too, and how they just do the voices so well. But I know me and Michael, we watched it in sub, but Salem, did you watch it in sub or did you watch it in dub?
I watch it dub.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
good. That'll be a good conversation
Contrast.
because I didn't watch it dubbed at all. I watched the whole thing in sub. So I guess with you, Salem, when you watched it in English stuff, how was that like for you? Like, what did you go back and watch like any sub clips at all, or you just watched it straight through dub?
So it's kind of funny because I recognized Power's English VA from Kobayashi. So I think they do a fantastic job. I love Kana's voice actress. I think she does great. I mean, all of the dragons have really awesome voice actors. I think they did a really great job. I think the only time that I was like kind of pulled out of it because it was in English was the episode where Kana goes to New York. That in English was a little tricky, obviously because they were all already speaking English. I'm assuming in the Japanese version they were obviously speaking Japanese and then they switched to English. So they just made it the most stereotypical New York accent to start, which was hilarious. And then when they translate, it's like normal voice acting after that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in the sub version, like it's the Japanese actors speaking English, and then they just speak straight Japanese after Kana does the magic. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a bit of a excuse me, that's a bit of like a tough point too, because even like shows like My Hero, when they have Pony, who's an American student, and funny fact, she's also voiced by Toru as well,
Yeah.
the English dubbed Toru. And I when I met her at a small convention, I was like, how is that, like, voicing an American character that's dubbed in English, and the whole show is in English. She's like, we had to give her an accent so that when she freaks out, that's what stands out. It's not like in the subbed version where when she's speaking English, and that's where like her Americanness comes out. But back to Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, I guess we touched up on some favorite moments. Like I said, like for me, it was for the school shopping, and we can go on with this because like this whole show, there's so many good bits and pieces of Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. But Salem, we'll start with you. Like, did you have any standout or any favorite moments in just the show overall?
I'm gonna go into a moment that obviously the fights were amazing. Those are obviously top of the list there, but just like the normal kind of human moments, was definitely learning about Toru's background and what inspired her to kind of rebel against everything and go to the human world essentially. I think that connects to a lot of just people in general about how they're raised or who their parents are, what their parents want for them kind of dictates how their life goes. And rebelling against that, once you've done it, you have all this freedom, but the freedom is lonely, because you've kind of left everything that you know. And so that part, I really loved seeing that, because obviously Toru is a dragon, but that is definitely a very human lesson as well.
Was there anything else that you enjoyed besides that?
I would say the entire episode where Kana runs away, that was great because I can't imagine just being in New York as Chloe was, and this girl's just like, "Hey, let's play," and they just literally play all day. I just thought that was so cute. I just love Kana. Any of the mischief that she gets up to is always very cute.
The best part about that episode is when it's revealed that Toru was following her, and then I'm like, wait a minute, because they showed the scenes where she was, and I actually went back into the episode and went to those scenes, and she's there. She's there. She's literally there. You have to like look for her, but I'm like, oh my god. I don't know, just that level of like wittiness that the animators did with it. I'm pretty sure it probably did the same in the panels, in the manga panels. But it was brilliant. Aside from that, Ricky already talked about it, but the backpack scene, where she gets a backpack, and I think it was like a little charm or keychain thing, something that she wanted, and Kobayashi saw that kind of wanted it, and then she ended up buying it for her anyway. And just the look of like excitement over Kana's face, it's just endearing. But I think my number one favorite moment was I'm dragging it on, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Toru, when Toru fights Elma, because that scene, like, you don't expect it to go as deep as it actually does, but if you like really think about it, it's just, Elma in the previous world, Elma and Toru were close, but Toru left Elma because she was being, praised by the people, and she kind of like hated people for it. And then, it's implied that she might have died. And then Elma finally like just spilling it all out, like you leave me for the human because I'm around humans, and then I hear that you die, and then I hear that now you're communing with humans, and like you're not even sorry. Like, how do you really think that makes me feel? And then Toru just kind of like swallows her pride, and you can see she doesn't do it very willingly, but she's like scratching her head, and then she apologizes. And I think that was probably like one of my favorite emotional scenes, because to me that's what impacted me the most, on top of the fight animations, which were like they top a lot of shonen mainstream. But yeah, those are my my favorite parts of the series.
yeah, that episode, the fight between Toru and Elma, like Kyoto Animation was just
Oh my
flexing
god.
on everyone. Like if we wanted to make a fighting anime, we could. And they just like they tease us with like these little fight scenes that are just very impactful in that short amount of time, but then
Mhm.
they still make it like, you know, hilarious or like very wholesome at the same time, like with a good, I guess, life lesson to it. Because even after that fight, you know, when Toru and Elma finally make up, they still like talk shit to each other. Like, no, I won
Yeah.
that fight. I won that fight. And then Kobayashi's like, no, you both won. I'll buy you both dinner, you know, and then they get over it. Just like little things like that. Again, like this makes the show so great. And I guess, you know, I have so many just favorite moments because I was going back before we recorded this episode. Like I went back and watched some clips and some highlights, and I gotta say, like these aside from like the school stuff, like I love the dodgeball scene where Psycho like calls out those guys and she's like, I can't believe I did that. You know, what am I gonna do? And that's when like the dragons show up and you know that scene was just hilarious because even Kobayashi had to tell Toru like, hey, don't kill them. You know, like be nice. And they whip the shit out of these guys. Like Toru essentially breaks this guy's ribs. You see Fafnir like just casually just throwing the ball, and then like Lukoa running
And
up to the kid, and, like her tits are bouncing, and the guy doesn't know what to do. He's like, "Oh my god!" And then like it just goes to the next scene, and they get wrecked, and then and then you see the dragons go at each other with dodgeball, and man, that animation sequence was beautiful as well. Just seeing like how how competitive she is against with the other ones, because like her and Fafnir are like, I guess they're tied when it comes to contest, but then she never really like battled Luko up until like the end of season 2 where they do the arm wrestling match, which that was another great scene too, because I guess because I read the manga for that too, and I didn't expect to have them like at the end. Like I thought that it was going to be someone else versus Toru, but to see that how powerful Lukoa is, like because she's a serpent god, and the way how Toru had to outwit her to beat her, and that was a hilarious scene as well. Just seeing like how Shota's like, "You can do it, Toru," and then Luko just loses all hope, and she just like gives up. And man, freaking beautiful, man! Like I absolutely loved it. Were there any other moments you guys enjoyed? Like I know there's so much to think of from just covering from both seasons. So yeah, if you guys have something you guys wanted to just bring up, go ahead and do it.
I think the scene where Toru kind of realizes what actually helping someone is really nice. Because she has her own idea of how to best help Kobayashi a lot. I mean, we see it when she's always offering her tail meat to her, or kind of
Something from the
overbearing.
other world. Yeah.
Yes. So it was kind of nice to watch her kind of do some introspection and be like, okay, well, helping someone is not necessarily making myself feel better or like what I think would make them feel better, but listening to what they need and what they want and then helping them that way. I just think that's a really great lesson just in general. So it was really nice to see.
For me, I do want to make a callback to when I mentioned that I thought this was going to be like more action shonen type anime. Because there was because the dodgeball scene, it was pretty early on in the series. And the episode started with like this barren wasteland. And Kobayashi's like, I bet you're wondering how we got here. Let me tell you. But then it ends up turning into something completely comical and funny. And then they use their dragon magic to like restore the world. That was actually one of my favorites. The other one is the when Iruru has the doll and trying to take it back to her owner.
Oh, that's a good scene.
And you don't really understand why. You're just like, why is she so hell bent on like returning this doll? But then she learns. Well, we learn more about her past and her being a chaos dragon, and that how she had human friends too that didn't make it, and then so she had the utmost like importance to try to find the owner, and then Take holding the like seemingly leaving but coming back and holding the umbrella. It's heartwarming. It's super heartwarming. Then it does in typical Kobayashi's Dragon Maid fashion. They come back and then Ilu's showering and she's like, Take, you're gonna join me. Honestly,
she chases him in the apartment too, but she's
naked. Any scene with the two of them, especially when the two of them first meet, and then she's like just completely like unembarrassed about everything, and he just constantly has like a nosebleed. So yeah, those are. I think that would be it for me.
Yeah, like just to touch up on that too, like when Taki first meets her, it's hilarious because he's like, yeah, my grandma hired this big person, because he has a big T-shirt. It's like, so
Yeah.
I gotta give him the shirt, and it's like, whoa, like who are you? You look foreign, and then he's like, here you go, change your shirt, and then she does it right in front of us, like, hey, you can't do that. You gotta go to the back room, and he's gotta like hold her hand and tell her what to do and stuff like that. And then even when she's like selling candy to the kids, like that one little girl was like, oh my gosh, like your melons are huge. Like what is it? Like she's like, it's fire sacks. That's what
They're
it
my
is.
flame sacks, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he comes out, you can't, like, you don't need to be lying to kids.
It's just like little things like that is what makes it great. But
Mhm.
yeah. I guess since we're talking about Ilulu, man, like she was a character that I loved a lot in season 2. I think the voice actress was my favorite in that season. And sadly she retired too. I was hoping that she'd stay on because I don't know if they're gonna do a season 3 or not. But the Seiyu retired, but Ilulu was like one of my favorites just to see, like you got to see a different point of view of the dragons, like coming from their world to Earth, because she came to take on Toru and to prove a point, and she ends up staying with Kobayashi and living with them. And what's different about her is like she was living there and not doing anything. So like Toru had to tell like, yo, go get a job. You can't, if you don't work, you don't eat, and you got to be busy because Kobayashi, we're all busy. Kana goes to school and stuff like that, and so Ilulu has to like learn all these humanistic traits. And it's funny because in the show we're seeing Toru teach these dragons how to be humans, and she struggled a lot being like trying to be human in the beginning of the show, where Kobayashi's like, hey, you gotta clean, you gotta do this, and then like just like when Kobayashi, or not Kobayashi, when Toru's like doing laundry, like she'll wash the clothes and then she'll lick it and then hang it up, like just like little things like that is just hilarious because like how odd she is, and how obsessive she is with Kobayashi. I
But
guess go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's almost similar aspect of like, when, like, if an older brother is raised a certain way, then it's the older brother's responsibility to kind of teach the younger sibling, on what to do and what not to. So that's kind of like, Kobayashi passing on what she learned, and that's kind of like another like wholesome aspect of it and everything. But yeah, well, another great thing about the show.
I mean, overall, there's just so many great things to talk about. Like, just like I said, it doesn't seem like that you have to keep watching it weekly to catch up on the show. You can watch bits and pieces of it and come back and rewatch things, and the story will still make sense. It's not like if you missed one episode where like if something happened, you're like, oh my god, I have to like go back and rewatch the whole thing. Like, no, it's like a sitcom. You can put it on and listen to it in the background and get what they're saying in dialogue, just to like oh, this is what they're doing. But I guess one character I wanted to touch upon was Shota, because his character, like I didn't think, like when he said he was a mage, I was like, maybe he's just being a kid and saying like, yeah, I'm planning on being a mage and I'm trying to like learn these spells. And when you learn that his family is actually mages, and you see him cast magic, I think that's what made me like really like his character, because he was like, yeah, man, Luca's always spying on me. I got to make sure she's not like keeping track on me, and I got to like use the clairvoyance block and all that stuff. And so like I love that his character is just like there, but he's like battling like this, I guess not, I don't want to say like lustfulness because he's still young, but like just he's battling like these ideas of what Luca was trying to throw at him, because she's trying to like show him love through physical contact, and he doesn't know what to do with it. He's like oh no, you're trying to like bewitch me and all this stuff, and he runs away, so I love things like that. I guess, Salem, were there any other characters that you liked in the show as well, aside from like Luca?
I love Fafnir.
He's
I
hilarious.
think that relationship of him living with like a roommate and them just like being side by side and gaming, and we also kind of know, I can't remember his name, the roommate's name. Is it
Oh, it's not.
Takio?
Yeah, Takia.
Takio.
Takia.
Takia.
Yeah.
And seeing like how he is at work with Kobayashi and then transferring to how he is at home with Fafnir. I really loved how their relationship kind of developed as well. I think that's something the show does super, super well, is show different dynamics between people, like all the different types of love. They don't necessarily all have to be romantic. We see a lot of platonic relationships too that are really healthy. As we have humans who are kind of pulling dragons through how to be emotional and figure out their emotions and build bonds with other people. So I think Fafnir was a really cool character to watch do that, especially because he's just so awkward already. So watching him trying to navigate through how he's feeling was really cool.
I think seeing him go from like, you know, very completely loathing to everything, and then he starts playing games, and he's like, "What is this?" He's like, "I have to master this," and
He's
then
"I
he just
love
like
this."
plays games nonstop.
Or him making the manga.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that was good.
that's a good scene. Yeah.
I felt bad for Lukoa there for a little bit. I was like, "Oh, my poor baby." But yeah, like I just think it's really cool how we see these completely different characters navigating through what is seemingly like very normal situations.
I guess to touch up on Fafnir, like in the subbed, he's actually voiced by the same actor who does Erwin, and when
Oh,
I found that out, I was like, whoa, like it's very different. Like even with Takia, like in the subbed, he's voiced by Gojo, and so like
oh my
I
God.
cannot
Oh yeah, that's
I
right.
can't unhear that anymore when I go back and watch Kobayashi Dragon Maid because I just hear Gojo now and not Takia.
That's me
Um,
with Bryce Papenbrook. Anytime I hear him, I'm like, "That's Bryce."
yeah. But like Fafnir was different. I feel like he's like with the dragon that doesn't get enough love because you know the Toru, Luca, Elma, they all get love, but like Fafnir is like just kind of in the background. But he has like his moments too, like where they see him dancing in the playground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like wondering like what's he doing out there? Like he's being weird, and then you find out that when he comes home, it's like this little ritual that he does with Takia when they're playing games or something like that. And so
It's so
he does
cute.
that, and then
He's a
even like
suspicious person.
yeah, like even when he's like playing games and like people are talking shit to him, he's like he's taking it so seriously. You know, like he's like I'm gonna go in and create a spell or like I'm gonna kill you. Like he's literally trying to like say that to him, but they're gamers. They're just trolling the hell out of him. And yeah, and Salem to piggyback what you said about the whole like comic hit episode, like he was working so hard on his manga or his book, he was writing like spells and real stuff. Even Toru was like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta get one! Like I like this stuff," but no one was in his line. Like everyone was in Luka's line or in Takia's line, and that's what made that scene hilarious because like the fact that Luka made a book and she was able to sell out easily,
Yeah.
and Fafnir like worked on his book so hard, and he put all these pages and effort into it, and nothing, and made nothing. And he's just like, I'm just gonna wait until the next one and do better.
I hope we get an episode where we see him be successful.
I hope so too. Like he's very like. What's funny about Fafnir is like you learn that he was, he just I guess the other faction was like
The
what was it? There
specters.
was he was a spectator. You know, he's very greedy. He just wanted to be in his treasure cave, and he didn't care about anything until he was living with Takia. Like even like moments where they had that episode of just them where Takia goes to work and comes back, and he and Fafnir's home all day. Like you see that even Fafnir like cleaned up after them, and like he actually considers like Takia as an equal, but he doesn't say it. But he just does it. He just shows it through his actions. And I thought that was a very like wholesome moment between those two as roommates and as friends. Like he doesn't look down on Takia, but he doesn't want to admit it either. Like I actually like this human. He just does it.
He's like a cat.
It's
Yeah.
probably because it's probably because Takia can beat him in video games. He's like,
yeah,
you have
that
my
too.
respect.
A worthy
Uh,
opponent.
Yes, yeah, like he's a very like just I don't want he's not so much standoutish, but I just wish like he had more screen time because I bought the game, the Miss Kobayashi Dragon Maid game, and like the story in that is like Fafnir is the reason why the girl dragons are stuck in the virtual world because he was like, I need help with this, and you see that Kana, Elma, and Kobayashi or not Kobayashi but Toru are stuck in the game. But yeah, just I wish he had more moments, because he's always just playing games. And even like when he plays games with Takia and Shota, like they show their little avatars, like that's how they're like,
Oh, yeah.
communicating. Yeah,
I
I forgot
love
about that part.
Takia's. He's so cute. I'm like, oh, he's got like a little bra on, like so cute.
yeah. I guess we can touch up on one of my other favorite characters too was Elma. Like first of all, like her seiyuu is freaking amazing. I don't know, just the way how she like voices Elma is like it's very unique to me, and I get just like this, like the cadence of how she speaks and just how she like expresses her emotions that makes me like really like this character. Because when we initially meet Elma, you think that she's like a cop or something, where she's trying to stop Toru or bring Toru back, and then she gets defeated by her empty stomach. And like
Right.
I love this little piece where Kana runs up to the table, grabs the bread, and like gives it to Elma. Like that animation sequence was just freaking adorable. Like you just seeing Kana being like just a good host and like sharing food. And then where she's like, all right, Toru, I'm ready to battle, let's go. And Toru's like, well, I can give you this bread and we can settle this another day. She's like, all right, and she just dips.
Very realistic. I love her foodie nature.
It's
Yeah.
how much she's exploited in the show too. Like, cause there was that one scene when Toru and Ilu were fighting, and then she's like, you have to do something, and she's like, I can't. It's against the code. I can't do anything. And she says, I'll give you melon bread. I'll give you all these things. And then she starts getting those heart eyes, and then Kobayashi yells up, "You're good, Elma casted a spell," and she's over there like munching. She actually is probably one of my favorite characters, Elma. Is in that scene too when they're camping and she panics because she's imagining what Kobayashi would be saying to her if she lost the kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
It's like it's not even about the safety of the kids. It's the opinion of Toru.
Yeah.
You're
like,
pathetic or
yeah.
worthless.
You can't even
Like,
watch over kids.
Right, I leave these kids to you. You can't take care of them, And she's like running and panicking, and I that's why like this was a scene that I like Shoto into, where Shoto's like, you hear that? Like, I think maybe it's Luca. We gotta be careful.
Someone's
like,
spying on us.
Yeah. And then like when Saikawa sees like her dragon, she's like, oh my gosh, that's the one I see. And then I love this sequence where Shoto's like, sleep, and then he makes you fall asleep. That was really cool. That was like Doctor Strange level magic that he was doing. I really like that too. And just to see like Shota, he's not phased by all like this weirdness. Like the only thing that phases him out is just how like Luke was constantly in his face, like let me do this for you. You should put the rubbing oil on me, or the lotion on me during the beach scene. And he's like, no, you're trying to cast a spell on me, and he runs away.
I like too that we see in the second season his dynamic with his dad.
Yeah.
We see like his dad's really like an authoritative figure, and he did all this work to make this talisman. It made me kind of sad. He goes and takes it to him, and Lukua is like so right. She's like, oh, like did he love it? What happened? He's like, oh, he just told me to work harder. So we do kind of see why Shota takes being a mage so seriously.
There's arcs in the manga I wish they covered in the show too, because like there's a part where Shota actually like goes to this exam, like this mage exam, and again to piggyback what you said, Salem, like he takes his role as a mage seriously. He wants to show like he can be an independent mage, or he can do things on his own without relying on like Lukua or or Toru like to do things. And I guess in this little arc that they show, like the other mages are making fun of him. They're like, he has like a maid, or he has like a big breasted girl that helps him out, and he can't do it on his own. So when he passes the exam, like he does it out of spite to show like, I don't need Lukua, I don't need them to to do it. But then and also in his own way, he was like trying to protect Lukua too. He didn't like that they talked down on her, and you kind of see that like he has a respect towards Lukua. It's just he's just so overwhelmed by her love that he can't like much like Fafnir, like he doesn't express it in that, or he doesn't reciprocate it in that way. But I thought that was a really like neat little arc there in the manga. I wish they had that in the show as well. If you want to start your own podcast like Spoiler Force, then sign up with Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout has helped hundreds of thousands of users like me to begin their podcasting journey. With easy-to-use tools, you can effectively get your podcast into different platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and more. You can view your stats, create audio clips, and even have your own podcasting website. Buzzsprout offers ideas, tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you improve your podcast. Follow the link below, and once you sign up, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card. This will let Buzzsprout know that I sent you and will also support Spoiler Force Podcast. If you want a simpler way to record both video and audio for your podcast, then sign up with StreamYard. StreamYard is the perfect program to create podcasts, host live streams, and even do video calls. There are many tools that can help you create and design your own personal studio. You can screen share, read live comments, and stream to different destinations like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can also download your video and audio once you're done with your recording session. Follow the link below, and once you sign up with the basic or pro plan, you'll earn a $10 credit to use for StreamYard. Happy podcasting.
I did have some questions since I'm not a manga reader.
Okay.
Do they kind of, is it still going?
That I don't know. I got up to where they talked about why Kana pulled the prank. So like they go into detail, like because in the manga they showcase that the Chaos Dragons are still looking for whatever Kana did,
Mhm.
and then her dad comes up to Kobayashi's place, and that's where I stopped reading.
Man, okay. Because I feel like in season 2, they just really, because usually, like you said, it's kind of like a sitcom. Like there's really no overarching plot a lot of the time. But in season 2, they really started to develop like the idea of who the gods are, why the factions are warring, and like kind of building up to something that's probably more substantial and more like linear in that storyline. And I was really interested to see if they have kind of like touched on that or if it's still just kind of bouncing around.
That, and they did give us a glimpse into I have questions about it too, what involvement Shota's dad has with the dragons, because
He has a scary face.
is a scary face, but then he knows the dragons though,
Right.
like he has some kind of affiliation with the other world. So that's kind of where it kind of breaks that wall down, where it's like, well, it looks like our world, but it's still interconnected with the dragon's world to some degree. That's probably one of my biggest lingering questions, if I had any.
Well, I think with Shota's dad, I think he kind of touched up on it a little bit. Like he, because he's a mage, he was like, I guess it was more of like networking or like a business thing. So like that's why when he met Toru's dad, he was selling them books that he pretty much plagiarized and sold in that world.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and that's how how Toru got her name, because of the book that he sold them. Because there was an artist that was named Toru. That's why Toru's dad named Toru that name. But like Shota's dad was like, I have to. That's the only way I can make money, and that's how I was able to get this business, because I went to the other world and sold plagiarized books, and pretty much just like said that I was some otherworldly artist, and they bought into it. But I do want to see, hopefully, I don't know, like I said, I don't know if they do season 3, because I mean, unfortunately, Salem, I don't know about this, but like when Kyoto Animation had that arson incident,
Fire, yeah,
that really took a hit on this show too, because I believe the main director, I think he was involved in that, like those who like sadly passed away, and I think that's why like there was this hiatus for this show, because that's why like they did what they did with season 2, or what they had left of season 2, and then they left it off at where I think it's more of an open-ended ending, because like they kind of show that, Kobayashi does like Toru, but she doesn't admit it either, and then that's a good way to like end it. But the manga, I don't know, I don't know if the manga's done. I've skipped ahead a little bit and seen like a little bit of important panels, which I won't touch up on. It's just like, I think once I have more time, I'll read into it. But what's funny too, because in the manga, I think I could be wrong, but I think in the manga there are parts where like the anime flip flop certain things. Like they brought in certain arcs that was ahead of the anime into the beginning, and like switched the timelines and certain stuff. But it still covers the same thing. Like it's still it's still Ilulu coming to Earth, the human world, or it's still like what was I going to say? Like it's still like just the season 2 story. Like it's just that, but they just switch things around. Because I think initially I think that where the arm wrestling scene, I think that arc was supposed to be before I think before or after, where Ilulu like just comes to the human world, but then they turned that to like a season, like an ending. So they switched things up. So I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if they're continuing the manga still, but hopefully if they do, hopefully Kyoto Animation like picks up on season 3, because I would love to see season 3. But like I said, sadly, Ilulu's voice actress retired, so I don't know how they're gonna top that. It's gonna be hard to find a seiyuu or a voice actor to play that role and the way how she did it too. But I guess I thought you watched it in sub, Salem. So like, me and Michael, we're gonna kind of like geek out a little bit here about the seiyus, because
yeah, go for it.
Like I think what made me really like them was that they sang the ending songs, and then like the summer 2021 when season 2 dropped, they released a music video of them singing the first opening of Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and then after season 2 ended, then they did like another music video together. And so yeah, I've been like pretty weebish about this. Like, this is probably the most weeb I get when it comes to like the music, because like I loved how they still stay in character when they sing. And the voice actress for Toru, I actually pulled up their names here. Yuki Kubahara, like she voices Toru, and man, like the way how she just, like, I don't know how these seiyus do it, man. Like how they can just stay in character and still sing and like be very, like, I guess, charismatic. It just takes acting on a whole another level when you see them do this. Like even the voice actors for Kana, Maria Naganawa, like she looks nothing like how she sounds. And it's just funny when you see like the comments on YouTube where, because she's actually physically taller than the other dragons. And so she's like, yeah, not Ilu, Kana's the big sister now, because the Seiyu's a lot taller than the other ones.
But she's dressed like Kana, so it's like,
yeah. Did you want to add anything to that, Michael? Just like on the Seiyus?
Oh yeah. To go off of what you said about the openings, because they also did the what was it, the
season
I think
2
it was
opening?
the season 2, yeah, Fauna's song, because they did the cover of it. But then I don't know if you noticed, but what they did in the show matched the no, it wasn't that. No, it was I think it was the first one. The animation matched the what they were doing. Like they kind of like choreographed along with the music video, the animated music video. So I think that was a really, really nice touch. I personally really liked Lukoa's seiyu, Takahashi Minami, which is hard to look her up because there's also an idol, a person from an idol group, whose name is also Takahashi Minami, but she's really good. I really like her voices and her roles. She had some roles in Danmachi, and then also she was in Food Wars, Shokugeki no Soma. And she just has this kind of like almost like a tomboyish kind of voice, and I realize I kind of like those. To me, they have a lot more character behind it. And then also she has all of the characters have voices in Azure Lane, and I play that game way too much just for the waifus and the voice acting. But no, she's probably one of my favorite, and might have a small Seiyu crush on her.
Yeah. like I said, man, these Seiyus like are just on a different level. Like, not to say like they're like better than the dubbed actors, but like it's different when you see like these Japanese actors get into character like that, where to the point where they're dressing up like the anime characters, or like, you know, they're really like dancing, and like they look like an idol group really in the music video. You know, like they look like they could actually like go around and tour together like that. And it's just funny because when they sing the songs written by Fauna, like they do a very good job at it. And when they did the music video for like the first opening for Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, like even Fauna was involved in that project, where you see them in the background dancing and with them and stuff like that. And you know, I guess to touch up on Fauna, I was kind of mad that like they didn't show up at Akon last year.
Akon, man, I'm still gutted from that, man.
Dude, I man, because like if I saw them, I would have went to that concert. Like I was waiting to see them just to freaking dance to Miss Kobayashi's Dragon.
Let me show you. Let me explain to everyone who's listening how much of a statement that is. Usually, like when the con is about 90 or 80% of the way through, Ricky's like checked out. He's like, "Let's go home. I'm done." It's usually me who's like, "No, I kind of want to stick around a little longer." He's like, "No, let's just go." So he's just like ready to go home. So for him to say that he wanted to stay, that he would actually stay for the concert, is a pretty big thing.
Yeah. I was willing to like buy like if they had like a VIP thing like to meet them and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and then like when they couldn't get their or was it passports or something, I guess something with like their IDs or something like that done.
I think it was because COVID or something like that.
Yeah, something happened to where like they weren't able to travel anymore and they canceled them. I was like, damn it, like
That was
that's such a gut wrenching moment because again, like being a Kobayashi fan, like that to see like even just the performers of the music's like the songs and stuff like that, I was really like willing to be geeking out about that stuff. And even when I go to cons and like see Kobayashi art, like Michael's, like I immediately buy it. Like I support anyone that does Kobayashi artwork, and that and like Konosuba. Those are the two that are like the ones like if I see it, I'm buying it. And like even like in my background, you see like Toru like right here by the artist is Otaku Envy. Like I bought I bought their whole set. They had Toru, Elma, Lukua, Ilulu, and Kana, and I bought all five of them, and like I even got like a slight discount because he's like, damn, you're buying all of them. Like, dude, I'm a big Kobayashi fan, man. If I see this shit, I'm buying it.
no. Just call back to at Waifu Expo. Like I had a booth there, and then I told Ricky that you can just leave your stuff at my table, and he just comes by and just like you can tell he's like kind of mad at himself because he's like dang it, I said I wasn't gonna spend anything, so he just gives it to me, doesn't say anything, and he's like kind of mad at himself. But it's funny, but that's true. He can't help himself with Kobayashi fan art or
like any
anything
art
so.
or merch. Like
And I feel like it's usually few and far between. I usually don't see a whole lot of Kobayashi stuff. So when you do see it and it's good, you have to get it.
Oh yeah. Like I said, like a lot of cons, there's ton of mainstream cosplayers like that just do like what's hot. But when I see like a Kana or Luko or Kobayashi, like that's where like the inner weebs like, oh my gosh, like I gotta get a photo of them or I gotta like say something to them because like that's like this is the like I said before, like this is the anime that makes me like really like geek out and like man, like because this show is just so unique in its own way. Because like even we were trying to get Michael's friend Philip to watch this, and he's like, should I watch this? Like what's this about? And Michael's like explaining to him like in the car ride back home, like Michael was like, no, this is why you gotta watch it, dude. Like it seems weeby at first, but just watch it. It's hilarious, it's different. And I don't know, did Philip ever watch it though? I feel like
No.
he didn't watch it.
No. He's only I actually told him today. I gave him a few more to watch. I was trying to get him to watch Hell's Paradise, but he's like,
Oh,
I'm pretty
good.
fixed on.
So good.
I watched the first episode. I need to watch the second and third. But he said like, no, I'm pretty fixated on Demon Slayer, and I got him on the Gundam Witch of Mercury train. So.
Oh man, like, that's for another episode.
We can't. I will not talk about that right now because you will not hear the end of it. So I'm gonna stop myself there. No, but I will dial back and say this: like for a lot of people who haven't watched it, it's like you won't really understand all of this. Like as much as we're talking about it, you won't really understand all of the feelings, all the little nuances and intricacies that can't be really explained through, without me writing like a whole dissertation over it. But you won't really know it until you actually watch it. It's actually like just really good. It's a feel good. Like there's so much like endorphins that like are going through you when you're like just watching it. It's wholesome. It's happy. It's hilarious. This is seriously a top tier anime. I would say. In terms of like what you get out of it, because it's not just like the thrill of the action. It's not just like the hype moments. There are hype moments. The animation. But no, yeah, that I'll step off my soapbox there. It's a great series. For anyone who's just wanting something a little different from like your typical shonen or like rom-com, drama and stuff like that. Great series.
I do think too, one of my main problems with recommending this to people is kind of like the sexualization aspect.
Oh yeah.
And it is difficult, especially I feel like as a girl in kind of anime land, it feels like it's always just something that's there and something that you kind of have to like just acknowledge is there, be like, okay. And sometimes it's a little much, especially with Luko and Shota. I think that relationship for me was a little bit like, okay, I understand, like, that's how she's showing love, but it is a little awkward.
Yeah.
But
It's
it
it's
doesn't.
very Shotokan esque.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
But
Michael had
it
to like
is.
teach me what that was. That's why his name was Shota. Like I
Yeah.
never caught on to that trope.
no, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, but the way that they do portray these healthy kind of connections and dynamics, even, like, within found family tropes, um, it kind of does make up for that aspect. So if there's anyone out there that's like, that might be a little bit too much for me, there is substance there. Like, it's not just the sexualization of these characters. Sometimes it's there in front and center, but most of the time it is about, like, how they're reacting with each other, how they're navigating through this world together, and how they support each other. So I think that's a really valuable aspect of this.
And if you watch it and you feel like it's too much, like for me, there's far worse out there. As far as
Yeah.
like what pushing the boundaries of fan service. This one's actually fairly tame. Minus a few scenes.
Yeah, like I said, for me, when I initially first watched it, this was something like, that was very different when it comes to terms of, like genre. Like I had to really just kind of like look past, a lot of the again like with the sexual themes and stuff like that. But it's the writers do a fantastic job of turning it into a comedic way, where like
Mhm.
where how Toru's so obsessed with Kobayashi. He's like, you can do whatever you want to me, and I'll do it. And then, like Kobayashi's like, no, like I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna eat your tail. I'm not gonna, do this. Even like she's like, what's your breast size? She's like, oh, D for dragon. Like she doesn't know, she doesn't know how to like explain it to Kobayashi because she thinks it's like normal, and um even like little things like with Psycho and Kana, like that right there was a little bit on the edge for me too. But just it's Kana's reactions that makes it funny, because Kana's
Mhm.
like to her it's a game, like it's nothing serious. Like oh I want to I just want to play like Twister or I just want to play like a Monopoly, kind of or Psycho was like so over the top with it and kind of like even when she meets Chloe, she explains to Chloe like who Psycho is. She's always doing this noise whenever she gets
Yeah.
excited. So like
Yeah.
Chloe's like, oh okay,
Ooh-hee.
like she's just like I guess that's just who she is. And
Yeah.
it's just like little things like that where they make it comedic, and it's enough to be like all right, you can look past that. Again, like Michael said, there's other animes out there that's even more lewd and more worse than Kobayashi's Dragon Maid.
Trust
So
me.
yeah.
Trust me. Wink.
um yeah, I mean we've covered a lot, just like talking about some of our favorite moments and stuff like that. So I guess was there anything that you guys wanted to bring up or talk about? Because again, this is there's like for me, there's nothing I can say that's bad about the show, honestly. Like, aside
Mhm.
from like what we said about the sexual themes, like aside from that, that's just like minor stuff, like the overall like this show is just freaking fantastic and like I can always go back and rewatch an episode or like and just pick up anywhere and just sit down and enjoy it. Like I was even watching it earlier this morning and my roommates are like, what is this about? Like is it funny or like is it what is this? And they even sat down and watched like a few episodes with me too. But yeah, did you Salem, did you or Michael have anything that you guys wanted to I guess bring up before we close this episode?
No, I feel like we covered all of the things that I could really think about. I mean, overall, it's just so vastly different from what I normally watch. So this was like strictly just like pleasure watching for me because normally I'm very like analytical. I like to kind of follow like really broad themes or like really get into like
The
analyzing.
literary devices and
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
and this is just I watch it because it's fun.
Mhm.
I like it for what it is, and I do enjoy some of the themes that they do explore in it, and I think they do it not only in a beautiful way with the animation, but in a unique way that it's not like these character tropes. They just seem like they're real people. They have all of the traits of, what normal people would be. So I think that's a huge strength that it has.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
There's one person I was expecting you to talk about, Ricky, Georgie.
Oh yeah, Georgie, she's freaking adorable, man. Like
She's so adorable, and especially when they're at the theme park and she's like taking, like she's everywhere. She's the with
best
the
wingman, dude. Like she was trying to help
yeah.
Psycho like to have fun with Kana.
Mhm.
I guess speaking on Georgie, like there was like that little clip that they had where they're like you calling her by her actual name, like Nai. She's like That's a night, or yeah, they're calling her by her real name, and she didn't respond, and they're like Georgie, and she turned back and looked, and she's like, "Hello," like I love like something small like that. Like I absolutely loved it because like Georgie is just a big old maid weeb like Kobayashi,
Yeah, just like Kobayashi.
and to see them like geek out about maid culture and stuff like that. Even Toru was like, "Oh my gosh, I got someone to compete with now." It's like she can't keep up with Georgie because like I guess what was it? Was it season 2 where like Toru was trying to make a maid costume for Kobayashi because she got made fun of for buying one, and, and Georgie comes in, she's like, being a maid, it's not about your outfit, it's about who you are and like what you carry, and then the quality traits that you bring as a maid. And like they make this whole thing where like Georgie's just like angelic, They're like, oh my god, Kobayashi's like, Georgie, oh my gosh, you're so right, it's not about what you wear, it's about who you are.
they just geek out together.
I do wish Georgie had some more scenes. Like it was just great to see like like how she was just another standout side character. Like
She's a great support character.
Yeah, like she was like a good standout. Like I loved her Seiyu. Like just the way how she played that role. It was adorable. Like because again in the theme park episode, like she's in the big mascot costume, and they're like, we know who that voice is, but who is it? And then they show it's Georgie's face. So I thought that was very cute. But yeah, before we do end things here, I just want to say, thank you, Michael and Salem for being on this episode, and to it feels great to just be a big old weeb about Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Like it's hard to talk about this anime with like casual fans because like they look at you like, oh my god, you watch like shit like this,
It's easy to get labeled. Watching this.
So like and it's just funny because like being as old as I am, just like just like damn bro, like you watch shit like this, like you're not watching like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto, like this is like one of those animes like where you kind of just keep it to yourself, because it's definitely like a very like stereotyped or trope like series. Because even when I explain this to my casual fans, like I have a friend who is like a diehard can they beat Goku guy, and I'm like, dude, Toru would destroy Goku easily. He's like, no, she can't beat Goku, man. I'm like, dude, Toru would destroy Goku, but because it's a comedic anime, no one takes that stuff seriously anyway. But yeah, but this was a fun topic. I'm glad that you both came on and was able to geek out with me about this. And again, this is exactly why I do this podcast, like to talk about shows like this, man, because I've been kind of like contemplating on like even before we recorded this episode, like what am I going to do for this 4-year anniversary, for Spoiler Force, because I was like trying to get a Kobayashi actor on here or something like that, like or find someone with a I guess with the following on. Like I was working so hard and nothing came up, and that's when I texted Michael and I messaged you, Salem, like y'all just want to geek up about Kobayashi because that'd be perfect for this episode. So
this is one of Ricky's favorite series. So
Yeah.
like it was number one, an honor to be able to get on here and again geek out about this, because again I can't talk with anyone else about this besides Ricky, because no one else has seen it, and I tell them to watch, they're like, okay, yeah, I'll watch it.
You looked at it as weird and shit, just like yeah, okay, like but then they never watch it. But yeah, so as we come to an end here, just make sure you guys follow Salem and follow Michael. I'll have their links in the show notes. It's always fun to have you on, Salem, to review things. And I know, like you said, you're very analytical, so like to be able to like just not overthink, like, 'cause, I always think back to our Attack on Titan episodes, how you break things down so easily and bring up topics or bring up themes that I never catch up on. And so to be able to just like talk about this show and just like just have fun with this, it was great. So thank you.
Yeah, it's silly and it's great and I love it.
Well, thank you guys again. I can't say it enough, but again, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to Spoiler Force. Follow Salem, follow Michael. I have their links in the show notes and all that stuff. And then after this episode, I will be on I gotta say, like roughly a 3-week hiatus, just from like editing and recording. When I come back from this hiatus, my first episode back will be a Suzume review with excuse me. I'll have Sharon Kim from Sharon Stuff podcast on. We're gonna be talking about Suzume, and so that'll be episode 161. And then hopefully by the time this episode airs, hopefully I have my contacts in with. I'm trying to get the voice actress for Chloe on the show. She does the English voice for Chloe, and she's also the voice of Yui from Hell's Paradise too. So hopefully I can get her on. But she's agreed as of this recording. She's agreed, but hopefully she jumps in the show, and that'll be the episode after the Suzume review. But yeah, so until then, again, thank you guys. Thank you guys for for watching and following for these past 4 years. Honestly, like I can't believe I'm still doing this after all this time. But yeah, thank you guys so much, and have a great day.
Watch more Slice of Life.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give a review and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. If you want to get all Spoiler Force updates or even peeks at behind the scenes, you can join the Spoiler Force Discord community. And if you'd like to show support, give tips, recommendations, sponsorships, or any collaborations, you can email me at rickyvang92@gmail.com.